Mitchell Renz here from Chat Sports, ready to get into today's NFL Mailbag. If you haven't yet, please go ahead and subscribe and join us every single Monday and Wednesday for our live NFL Daily shows, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. Let's go to the RBB Bros. Should the 49ers draft Asante Samuel Jr. or cornerback Tyson Campbell in the second round? If I had to pick between both of these players, I'd probably go with Asante Samuel Jr. Now, if you ask me Eric Stokes, I'm starting to like Eric Stokes a lot more. He's built, I don't want to say like Richard Sherman in terms of athletic ability, but he reminds me a little bit of athletic ability in terms of the long length and just how truly gifted he is as a player. But out of those two, I'll go with Asante Samuel Jr. All right, we got Tubal. What up, Tubal? If you're a Dolphins fan, go subscribe, youtube.com/Dolphins News. Do you think the Dolphins would be fine just concentrating on offense in the first 3 rounds? I will say yes, I do think they would be fine. However, it depends how the draft board falls, right? Like, you could easily go with Jamar Chase, Penei Sewell, one of these top players, Kyle Pitts, at pick number 6. At pick number 18, then you could go with one of the top running backs, one of the top offensive linemen as well. And then pick 36, kind of the exact same thing, right? Like, if the Dolphins went with one of the top pass catchers, one of the top offensive linemen, and then the top running back left on the board, that's a really good start for Miami. And then you can continue to address some of your other defensive needs, but the offense is the bigger need right now for Miami than defense. And I actually think Miami has one of the more complete defenses in the league. All right, go to the next question here. It says, can pull up from 30? Debatable. How far do you think the Rams can get in next year's playoffs? I think it really comes down to how good Matthew Stafford is. Like, you know the defense is legit. You know with Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald there, they're going to be probably a top 5 defense again. If Matthew Stafford can take them over the hump, which Jared Goff couldn't, then this is a really solid team. But if Jared Goff can go to a Super Bowl, then why can't Matthew Stafford? It's a tough division, but how far do I think they get in the playoffs? I can't even guarantee they get in. It's a really, really tough division. All right, let's go to Marcus Nichols. What are some good cornerbacks that Seattle can draft in round 2 to 3? I'll say the kid from Washington, Elijah Molden. Eric Stokes is another name to keep in mind. Asante Samuel Jr. I don't think Greg Newsome falls that far. Some other names. Tyson Campbell probably is another cornerback to keep in mind. If one of those 4 guys is on the board when Seattle picks late in the second round, that's probably the route I would end up going. Now, if you guys want more videos around the latest NFL news, rumors, drafts, trades, and more, and if you want it 100% free, then all you got to do is subscribe to Chat Sports. We're pumping out content literally like every single 3 hours, and if you want even more content, guess what? Join us for our live shows. If you can't find the subscribe button, just go to youtube.com/chatsportstv, and then it'll pop up. You click subscribe, and you're all good. Super chat coming in from Jared Sanchez. Should the Steelers draft running back or offensive lineman? So pick number 24, I'm going to give you the shitty answer. I'm going to say it depends who's on the board, right? Like, if one of the better left tackles fall, like let's say Christian Darrisaw falls all the way to 24, I'll take Darrisaw at 24 since you haven't been able to replace Villanueva yet. But if not, Alejandro Villanueva, excuse me. But if Najee Harris is sitting there, you need our starting running back, and I think Najee Harris would be a really good fit in Pittsburgh. So Najee Harris, or if one of those top left tackles end up falling to you. But I also will say this, drafting a running back in round 1 kind of pains me a little bit. Xavier with a Z, should the Dolphins draft Dylan Moses? I'll be honest with you, I'm actually not the biggest fan of Dylan Moses. Like, I get the idea that he played at Alabama, and it's a very household name. And before the injury, he was one of the best linebackers in college football. But then he suffered the torn ACL, and then he lost the step. 6'3", 240 pounds. I'm worried that Moses is going to get exposed, especially in the NFL, because he's not a very good coverage linebacker, and he's not really he doesn't have the speed like he used to, right? He's a good tackler. There's no doubt about that. But the Dolphins kind of already have somebody that's exactly like Dylan Moses. So if I'm Miami, I'm simply just going to say no. All right, what about this? Name a prospect you hope your team doesn't end up drafting. So I would say Dylan Moses is a player that I would not want my team to go out and draft. Now, sure, if you get him in day 3, it's a lot different story, but I am a believer that Moses ends up going on day 2. Oftentimes, we always sit here and talk about this player, that player, like this is the guy we want. Name a player that you hope your team doesn't draft. Super chat time from Michael. My NFC West prediction, Seahawks and Niners in first, Rams third, and Cardinals fourth. I think the division will come down to the final play like 2 years ago. I think it's funny how often the division comes down to literally like one play. This is probably going to be the most competitive division yet again. I mean, sure, maybe the AFC North I'll throw out there as well, but this is the only division in the NFL where I could sit here and say I could see all 4 teams getting in the playoffs. Now, it's not going to happen all 4 teams get in, but if I told you the 49ers get in, would it surprise anyone? It shouldn't. Seahawks? No. Rams? No. Cardinals? No. It's going to be a great division, but I'll go this route. I'm going to get a little bit different on you. I'm going to say Rams 1. I think the Seahawks are 2. I think the Cardinals are 4, and I think the Cardinals 3, Niners 4. All right, we got Mark Mueller. Appreciate the super chat, my dude. Hey again, Mitchell. Unless the Packers have a productive draft, does that lead to the end of Aaron Rodgers' tenure in Green Bay following 2021? I still think Aaron Rodgers is going to play in 2021 for the Green Bay Packers. And now maybe if he doesn't get the contract extension that he's looking for, he could get a little upset. But if I'm Rodgers, I stick it out. I play in Green Bay one more year. Then the salary cap goes up in 2021. And if 2022 technically. And if then you still don't get your contract extension, then you go to another team, they end up trading for you, and then you get even more money to kind of ride off into the sunset. Fire 12, pieces the Packers missing to go to the big game. You're still missing that interior defensive line. You still need some help there. You need to be able to upgrade at your right tackle position. You need to be able to upgrade at wide receiver. I think if you do those 3 things, you can compete. But let's face it, Green Bay has been ripped apart the last 2 years in the playoffs via the run. If you don't upgrade your running defense a little bit, you're going to take some hits. That's why you shouldn't have drafted Jordan Love and what's his name, the running back from Boston College, A.J. Dillon. That's why you don't take those 2 guys in your first 2 picks of last year's draft. You bite yourself in the butt. All right, let's go to Margot Munger. I don't know if I got that right, but I'm going to go with it. Do you think the Bears should sign cornerback Rashad Breeland and Mitchell Schwartz or Alejandro Villanueva, then trade up in the draft a quarterback in round 1? Well, if you're going to trade up for a quarterback, you got to get in the top 10, in my opinion, and that's going to be a lot of draft capital. But I don't really want Matt Nagy to have the ability to make another quarterback decision. So I'll say no to that. In terms of Rashad Breeland or Mitchell Schwartz, Schwartz to me, is he 100% healthy? The back issue still scares me a little bit. Breeland, if you can get him in on a 1-year kind of cheap type of contract. And then left tackle, I think Alejandro Villanueva has been one of the more reliable tackles in the league. I'm actually surprised he's still out there on the market. Now, if you guys are looking to see what's on in your market or maybe some of the best food places out there, go to chatsports.com/newsbreak. Newsbreak is this unbelievable app where you can get some of your local news in your area, in your city. Like, it literally does not matter what your zip code is, what your state is. You can stay up to date on everything going on in your area. Now, why is that important? It's important because if you want to know the latest on politics, that's important to me. What about weather? You don't want to be the guy that plans a picnic and just to have it just rained out. No. Newsbreak is an unbelievable app that keeps you up to date on local news, weather, politics, food, pop culture. If you're looking for more sports content besides Chat Sports, hey, you can get it at the Newsbreak app. But if you also want sports content, exclusive content from Chat Sports, go to chatsports.com/newsbreak. That link is available in the comments and the description. I'm going to say it one more time, chatsports.com/newsbreak. Once you go to that link, click the download because I'm telling you right now, Newsbreak, it's an awesome, awesome app. Let's go to Untouchable Raider 1960. I'm pretty good, my man. Pretty good. A little tired. Should the Raiders draft Jamin Davis, Landon Dickerson, and Deontay Brown? So basically you're saying Jamin Davis at 17, Landon Dickerson at 48, and then Deontay Brown guard at 79. If that's what the Raiders would end up doing, I would probably give it like a C- grade. I think all 3 of those players are pretty good, but I think for the Raiders it's a lot of other different needs here. So if that's the route they went, I'd give it a C- grade. What up, King J? Giants' biggest needs right now. Some of you might get mad. I might say quarterback. No, I still think edge rusher is probably their top need out there. The issue for New York is it's like, do you take a Jalen Phillips? Do you take a Azeez Ojulari? Do you take a Kwity Paye at number 11? It's one of the biggest reasons why I think the New York Giants are one of the primetime teams that could trade back in the draft. Go back from 11 to, 15. Maybe you fall back even a little bit further, continue to be able to build some of your other holes here for this team. Tiger Woods, not that one. Should the Falcons draft Davis Mills since you hate Mond? It's not that I hate Kellen Mond. It's just I think Kellen Mond's a little bit overrated. Like, when I hear people taking him in the top 3 rounds, that's crazy to me. What's also crazy is Davis Mills here. So, in Mel Kiper's latest mock draft, he had him going in round 2. I also saw a CBS mock draft where he's going in round 1. Every single year, there is a random quarterback that starts getting thrown in the top 2 picks, or the top 2 rounds. We're like, huh? But I can't say this. I never expected Jalen Hurts to go in the first 2 rounds. He ended up going in the first 2 rounds. If Davis Mills goes in the first 2 rounds, I will be shocked, and I think it will be a major mistake here. But how about this? We'll have a little bit of fun. Who do you think is the better quarterback? Davis Mills, type D, or K for Kellen Mond? Now, I think actually most of the people that watch this show are going to type K for Kellen Mond. I get that he's a 4-year starter, and when it comes to Mills, I don't even think he's played in 15 career games. So you're talking about 2 totally different types of prospects. Mills is probably built more to be your conventional pro-style quarterback pocket passer. Mond is built more to be, your mobile quarterback that has a lot more playing experience. As much as I hate Kellen Mond, I'm still going to go with Davis Mills here. It's close to me, though. Mills, to me, is a player that I would take in round 4. Mond is also a player that I would take in round 4, maybe round 5. Let's go to Brutal Hustler here. I saw Kiper mock Kelvin Joseph to the Broncos in round 2. Who is another cornerback you see Denver taking in round 2? So when I think about some other potential players here, Denver, I don't know if it's like their biggest need, but when the whole mock draft process started, I love Caleb Farley, right? Now they went out and signed a few other players here, but my top 2 cornerbacks that I think make the most sense for Denver, where they are at in round 2, I'll first hit here with Eric Stokes, 6'1", 185-pounder. Really athletic dude, 20 tackles, 4 picks last year, 4 pass breakups. I'd rather have him than Tyson Campbell personally in terms of my Georgia cornerbacks. Another name to keep in mind that's really been shooting up draft boards, Elijah Molden, cornerback from Washington, 5'10", 190 pounds. He played in only 4 games last year, but 26 tackles, a pick, a pass breakup, and 1 tackle for a loss. If I'm the Broncos and I'm sitting here saying, okay, I have to take a cornerback in round 2 for whatever reason, I would look at Molden. I would look at Eric Stokes, probably being the 2 guys with the most upside. Now, if I didn't get to your question, just know that I'm sorry. You can also blame Sam at SamBrownCS on Twitter. But if you want to go ahead and hit me up on IG, I'm at Mitchell Renz 365. So please slide into my DMs. They're open for a reason. Mariners fan, you're next up here on NFL Daily. Should the Seahawks sign Sherman? Sherman is still out there, and the last thing that he said that he plans to do is to wait until after the NFL draft to end up signing. When I think about the teams that are the most likely to sign Sherman, I think it's between the Raiders, the Cowboys, and then probably the Seattle Seahawks. Those are probably the top 3 teams for Sherman. Nick loves females, okay? Do you think Harris, do the Finns at 18 is a possibility? So I think you mean Najee Harris at 18 is a possibility due to him and Tua being old roommates / teammates. I do think Najee Harris is an absolute candidate that the Dolphins could pick at 18. They want a true bell cow running back, and Harris is the top guy in the draft. Sure, some people might argue for Travis Etienne, and I might even make the argument that Etienne at 36 is better value than Harris at 18. But if you have a guy that you 100% want, go out and get him. And for the Dolphins last year, they had 5 different starting running backs. You averaged 3.9 yards per carry, which was ranked 29th in the NFL. If you want Harris, and I think they do, it's definitely a possibility at 18. Let's go to Irma Caffey. If the Pats don't trade up in the draft to take a quarterback, who do you think they will draft in the first round? So I think the most likely options there are Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. If Micah Parsons is still on the board, definitely somebody to keep in mind. I don't know if they end up going cornerback. It could be depending on if they decide to trade Stephon Gilmore. Maybe a Jaycee Horn could be there. But I think out of the 3 names that I just mentioned, that's probably the route they go, at least in terms of making the most sense overall. All right, what up, Izzy World? Which draft class from the past decade is the best? Which draft class from the past decade is the best? Oh, boy. I really want to... 2017 wasn't very good. I'll be honest, I can't even think about all the draft classes off the top of my head. For this question, Izzy, I want you to hit up Tom Downey on Twitter. He's at WhatGoingDowney. He's the draft expert. He could probably give you a better answer. Let's go to Overfire12. Appreciate the super chat. Do you think Jordan Love and A.J. Dillon are good enough to be the future Keystones in Green Bay? No, I'm not big on A.J. Dillon, and I'm not big on Jordan Love. I think is probably one of the, we're going to go back and look at some of the worst draft decisions a team has made in the last 10 years. I think that's going to be it. Let's go to Mike Dibble. Hey, Mitchell, who is your late round 1 steal? So My late round 1 steals. Oh, boy. I think in terms of players that I think you could keep in mind, oh, boy. I'm trying to think off the top of my head here. I think Schwartz is a player, the wide receiver from Auburn. He could be a late round guy you could potentially see go. The lineman from Mississippi State, I think, is a pretty interesting player. I'm trying to think. So, guys, I do a lot of my draft research, like in the earlier picks. A lot of the late round guys is probably a little bit more for Tom. So, what, you mean like late round 1? Oh, late round 1. I'm thinking like late, like 5th, 6th, 7th round guys. All right, so late round 1 steals. I think Zaven Collins is a great player to keep in mind. I think Azeez Ojulari could be a good player to keep in mind. We'll see. Eric Stokes is another player that I'm starting to really fall in love with because of the athletic ability. Jalen Phillips, if he goes down really far. I'm not going to sit here and go Melifonwu, but I will ask you guys this question. What's the correct spelling here for, I want to pronounce it right, Ifeatu Melifonwu? What's the correct way to spell this dude's name? Now, Obi, his older brother, he's already come out, was kind of an absolute flop in the NFL. But which is the correct way to spell Melifonwu's name here? So is it the first way, type 1? Is it the second way, type 2? Third, type 3? Type 4 if you think it's the fourth. If you want to know the correct answer, you can DM me on Instagram at MitchellRenz365 or just look it up on Google. All right, let's go to Robert Bruce here. Hello, Sam. Hello, Mitch. If the Patriots don't move up and go quarterback, do you think they would go defense? I think linebacker like Davis or the kid from Notre Dame. So I think Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah would be a phenomenal fit for what New England tries to do, try to be super versatile. But I'm with you. I think either Owusu-Koramoah or Micah Parsons, probably the two most likely picks there for New England. Let's go to Samu P. It's going to be the last question. Should the Browns trade up in the draft and take Jaycee Horn? I'll say no. I know cornerback is a need for them, but also it's not like a super big time need. The Browns don't have enough glaring needs, in my opinion, to really sit there and want to be able to trade up. So I'll say no. I think they should stick tight. Samu, if you want to check out our Browns channel, it's chatsports.com/BrownsTV.